What's going on, everyone? So, LeBron James is expected to stick around with the Los Angeles Lakers, which, like I said from day one, I don't think he's going anywhere. Even like midway through the season when there were talks about, like I said, he's not leaving. He's just not. He's for the Lakers. He came to Lakers for more than just basketball reasons. He came for his family, for his kids, right? His business, life after basketball. He's expected to sign a 3-year, 100 and probably I think it's $64 million contract. I know a lot of people have thrown out like, hey, LeBron needs to take a discount. LeBron should take a discount. It makes zero difference. LeBron can play for a vet minimum, and it won't really affect our cap regardless, no matter how they approach it, right? The Lakers are already well over the cap, right? They're going to try to, potentially go get another star or revamp this roster. They got to get a head coach, right? LeBron James could take a significant discount. It doesn't matter. So he's going to sign for the max more likely than not because, again, it doesn't impact either way other than the tax. That's for the organization, right? That has nothing to do with LeBron James. That has nothing to do with properly putting and building a roster around this team. The Lakers would need a lot more to happen besides LeBron just leaving for them to get a bunch of money, right? So more likely than not, we're looking at the taxpayer mid-level vet minimums, and then whatever type of trades that the Lakers are able to pull off this offseason. Do they keep the draft pick? Right? But regardless, whatever the Lakers end up doing, personally, I don't believe the Lakers should necessarily have LeBron in mind. Right? Obviously, he's on the roster, so you don't want to put a team together that doesn't make any sense for LeBron. But what I mean by that is, like, you want to try to find a nice balance, but to me, you need to build around Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis should be your focus. LeBron James, right? You don't know, even if he does sign the 3-year deal, right? You don't know what he's going to look like, next year or year 2 of that deal or towards the end of that deal, right? So to me, you need to start positioning and planting yourself for life after LeBron, and then have LeBron come in, adjust, and build, right? But luckily, the beauty is that no matter how they approach it, it lines up either way, right? Because a lot of the things that you want around Anthony Davis, you also want around LeBron James, right? So to me, I think it is something that you can do, and it still would make LeBron happy and useful and in a great position, and you're still kind of build around LeBron because, again, they're both playing, the power forward spot, playing the inside-out game, right? But, like, even the Trey Young thing, right? And we'll see if the Lakers actually land him. I really do think that that's probably going to happen. Like, I think that that's shaping up to be the most likely scenario. Everybody just keeps throwing out that he's going, and usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And, I mean, you have TV personalities literally like basically saying that he told them personally he's going. So I think ultimately he's going to end up being a Laker. I have my concerns with Trey Young and the fit with LeBron James. I have a lot of questions with it. And we'll talk about that and explore that more later on down the road if and when it happens. But the reason Trey Young makes sense, and the reason I get why the Lakers are going after him, besides, obviously the Lakers could use him even with LeBron, and he would take a ton of pressure off of LeBron and, could allow LeBron to kind of coast during the regular season and then even in the playoffs, right? Trey can take over playmaking duties, can take over scoring duties, right? Like, there's a lot that goes into it. But it's more so for Anthony Davis more than anything. I mean, even like Kendrick Perkins, when he was talking about Trey Young going to Lakers, and he basically point blank said that Trey told them. Like, what was the big thing that he talked about? Like, oh, it's going to be a match made in heaven for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, it's Anthony Davis, right? Because Trey makes a world of sense for Anthony Davis. And luckily, Trey is young enough, he's 25, that even after LeBron sails off to the sunset, you still have Trey and Anthony Davis. But even Anthony Davis, when his contract's up, and he'd be 33, I believe, when this contract's over. So whatever Anthony Davis is, like, if he's still competing at and playing at a high level, then fine, you can keep him and kind of work it out. But if he's not, and you end up deciding to move off of him or go in a different direction, Trey would still be on the right side of 30, right? He'd only be 28, 29. So then now you can look to retool and kind of restructure your roster around Trey. And now you got that, early to mid 20-year-old that all the top teams in the league have. It's why the Lakers are looking to do this. So it's this, like, getting Trey would be more for Anthony Davis than it would be for LeBron and Anthony Davis, right? Because again, there's concerns and a bit of a confliction between Trey and LeBron, not Trey and Anthony Davis, right? Now, again, how do you feel about Trey Young? It's neither here nor there. Again, we'll dive and explore that more later on down the road. But Anthony Davis has shown, especially in this recent playoffs, in this season period, that he can be the guy, that he can take over the mantle, that he can be your main guy and the leader, that basically can dominate in the playoffs and play through injury and all the things that we've been asking and wanting to see from Anthony Davis. I believe that we saw from him this season and the playoffs. Now, obviously, he needs to continue to do that. That needs to continue to be a pattern. It can't be something where it's like, he had a great year 3 years ago. It's like, no, he needs to continue to show that pattern. But the reason that that's good is because, again, LeBron's only going to, you'd imagine, start to decline. I don't think LeBron's ever just going to fall off a cliff and be awful, right? Or like a role guy or anything like that. But I said it before. I think LeBron is getting closer to being that like super third option as opposed to like your number one or maybe even number two option, right? Anthony Davis has shown he can be the one guy, but I still think that even with Anthony Davis, you still heavily need LeBron. Like if you had, say, I don't know, say like a Jokic or something like that, which might kind of conflict with LeBron, but like let's say you had somebody like that, right? Then yeah, LeBron's your super two guy, right? Like, but I think if you got a Trey Young to pair with like an Anthony Davis, right? I think LeBron can kind of be your quote unquote third guy. LeBron's never really going to be a third guy, but he can kind of do what he wants to do, which is kind of coast and just get through the regular season. Trey and Anthony Davis can handle the workload and basically, I mean, Trey and Anthony Davis alone should be good enough to get you, be a top playoff team, one of the top teams in the West, right? So then LeBron's just kind of the piece that puts you over the top. That's the idea. But even if they don't go the superstar route, you still want to get pieces, in my opinion, that make sense for Anthony Davis. And you want to structure and start building and putting the pieces around this roster for Anthony Davis. Where, 2 years ago, you might have still been doing and kind of piecing this roster around LeBron James. I mean, one of the reasons the Lakers even got Russell Westbrook was because LeBron wanted to play off ball more. He wanted to have less ball handling duties. He wanted to kind of change his game and shift, which you've seen with like his 3-point shooting, which is good. But he wants somebody that can kind of take over, the responsibilities for a majority, and then he just kind of comes in and picks it up and turns it on whenever he needs to, right? And so it's something you got to kind of keep in mind, I think, if you're the Lakers. But to me, ultimately, right, you go get Anthony Davis, complementary pieces, maybe another big man to play alongside him. The problem is that I don't know how well LeBron would fare at the 3, especially if he's looking to actually coast and stuff and just the defense he's played. But again, like, get some shooters, get some legitimate two-way guys, 3-and-D type guys that pair alongside Anthony Davis, take some pressure off AD, get somebody that is looking for Anthony Davis, right? Because we go way too often, way too frequent, where we just completely, it's like Anthony Davis isn't even out there offensively, and it's not his fault. It's our ball handlers need to get Anthony Davis the basketball. So even if it's not like a Trey Young, like even like a DeJounte Murray or something like that, somebody that's going to look to run some pick and roll actions with Anthony Davis and help highlight Anthony Davis and let him be a focal point on the offense side of the basketball, right? Like you have your workhorse in AD. Go get that complementary pieces. Go build the roster structure around Anthony Davis. I think the Lakers would be in good shape, right? Again, you're going to have LeBron James and Anthony Davis for probably in the next 2-3 years. And I'm not saying you want to completely, you don't want to build a roster that's like, wow, this roster makes zero sense with LeBron James. I'm not saying that again, but I don't think that LeBron should be your main priority on how you're structuring this roster. Where, like, for example, in previous years, it's like, okay, well, LeBron James, you want to have specific type of players around him. And he's going to be on ball heavily, and he's basically your pseudo point guard. And it's just, to me, it's like, okay, again, luckily, a lot of the same things you want for LeBron, you want for Anthony Davis. So you can run a real inside-out game. But I don't want to see them kind of fold and do necessarily like, oh, well, LeBron wants this guy. And it's like, well, that guy doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, yeah, but LeBron wants him, right? To me, it should be Anthony Davis. Do you think this guy complements your game? Do you think this guy makes sense for you? If the answer is no, then I think it should be, okay, we're moving off of him and going next. But I want the guy. Yeah, it sucks. Right? Like Anthony Davis is the guy. Right? And I think LeBron would be totally okay with that because LeBron's spoken heavily about how he wants Anthony Davis to be the guy, that this is his team, that, he's the number one option now. Right? He wants him to take over the mantle, that kind of thing. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts on the Lakers offseason? Do you agree that, like, yes, Anthony Davis should be the main focus? You should be building around Anthony Davis, not necessarily LeBron. Do you agree that, like, although some of the pieces or most of the pieces that you'd be looking for would be very similar? Again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot, so you enjoyed these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.